The cabin door groaned against the howling wind of a brutal Montana winter in 1885. Thomas Harlan, a rugged rancher who'd sworn off women for nearly a decade after losing his beloved wife, stared into the frozen night. 3 Crow women stood on his threshold, drenched and trembling, their eyes wide with fear and exhaustion. The eldest clutched a tattered shawl, her figure outlined by the storm's fury. Behind her, the endless plains of the Montana Territory stretched into darkness, buried under feet of snow. Inside his modest 18 by 22-foot cabin, a single bed and a flickering lantern promised warmth, but at what cost? Thomas gripped his rifle, his mind racing. He'd built this life on solitude and loyalty to a ghost. Now, fate had delivered temptation straight to his door. What happens when a man's ironclad vows clash with raw human need? The storm outside was nothing compared to the one brewing within. 3 days earlier, Thomas had been chopping firewood near his isolated spread, 20 miles west of Billings. At 45, he moved with the careful rhythm of a survivor, every swing of the axe a reminder that the frontier didn't forgive mistakes. Flakes began to fall, signaling a blizzard that could trap a soul for weeks. His neighbors in the sparse settlements called him the recluse of Powder River Basin, not mockingly, but with pity. 9 years was an eternity to mourn, they muttered, especially out here where life demanded companionship. But Thomas remembered Mary's final whisper, "Promise you'll love me always." And he had, God as his witness. The cabin he'd raised for their dreams still echoed with her touch the quilt she'd sewn, positioned by the window, the tin cups from their wedding trip to Helena, the faded daguerreotype on the shelf, Mary in her Sunday best, her smile lighting up the room like summer sun. Nights, he'd twist the gold band on his finger, recalling her laugh over stew, how she'd nestle close during lightning storms, the soft sighs she'd make in the dark. Some memories burned too bright to linger on. The territory tested men daily raids from restless tribes, rustlers, endless winters, but Thomas endured alone, herding his cattle, subsisting on salt pork and hardtack, chatting only with the traveling minister who passed through quarterly. "Thomas," Reverend Ellis had said last month, "grief ain't holiness. Mary wouldn't want you turning to stone." But the preacher hadn't cradled a dying wife through cholera, hadn't vowed eternal love with his whole soul. Now, as the blizzard unleashed its wrath, rattling the shutters, Thomas knew his resolve was about to face its ultimate trial. The knock echoed just past midnight, faint against the gale. Thomas grabbed his Winchester, from habit strangers in these parts meant trouble. Through the ice pane, he saw shadows, 3 forms huddled like specters. 9 years of isolation teetered as he unlatched the door. They tumbled in, graceful even in despair, 3 Crow women, their beaded dresses sodden, carrying the wild scent of sage and snow. The eldest, Lena, stood tall, her voice steady in broken English. "We daughters of the chief's kin. Soldiers forced us to the Dakota lands. We refuse. We flee." Thomas knew the tales after the Little Bighorn skirmishes. The army herded tribes like cattle, tearing families apart onto barren reservations. Mira, the middle sister, leaned against the wall, her ethereal face pale, high cheekbones sharp in the lantern light, her hands trembling clearly feverish. Kira, the youngest, barely 20, scanned the room with bright eyes, landing on Mary's photo. "Your lady. She's pretty," she murmured. Thomas's chest tightened. "She was." Lena's gaze softened. "You know sorrow." The room hushed, save for the fire's crackle and wind's moan. 3 women who'd lost everything. 1 man clinging to loss like a lifeline. "You can't stay forever," he growled, fetching blankets. Cavalry swept these valley sif caught harboring runaways. He'd swing from a rope. "We understand risk for you, too," Lena replied. That sealed it. Not reason, but the same gut-deep honor that had bound him to Mary. He offered the bed. They'd take it, No arguments. Turning away as they shed wet clothes, he heard whispers in their tongue, soft rustles. 9 years celibate. One cramped cabin. One endless storm. What fresh hell was this? By day 4, the blizzard locked them in, drifts piling to the eaves. The cabin pulsed with new life, alien yet intoxicating. Mira, mending from her chill, turned his meager stores into feast shardtack stewed with herbs she'd foraged, tasting like heaven. Her touch was healing, calm as a summer stream. Kira, vibrant and inquisitive, peppered him with questions about white man's ways, her laughter echoing off walls long silent, chasing shadows from corners. But Lena unnerved him deepest. She observed everything, how he averted his eyes from their forms, how his fingers quivered when Mira bandaged a splinter, drawing blood and something fiercer. That 4th night, as her sister slept, Lena sat by the fire. You strong man, but heart heavy like stone. She touched her chest. Thomas stared at flames, ignoring the slip of her blanket, exposing her bronze shoulder. Some burdens stay. My elder says heart like river block it floods or dries. She edged closer, her scent of pine and earth dizzying. Your lady want you empty? The words stung. His hand flew to the ring, twisting it. Mary's photo watched, her joy mocking his drought. It's not simple. Kira stirred sleepily. In our people, a widower gets a new wife. Life is too harsh alone. Mira chuckled softly. You fight nature like a battling wolf. Surrounded by their warmth, Thomas felt walls cracking 9 years attuned, now alive with forbidden possibility. Outside, the storm raged. Inside, desire simmered, threatening to boil over. On day 9, rifle cracks pierced the dawn. Thomas snapped awake. Smoke signals curled from the ridge. Army scouts. They're here, Lena hissed, rousing her sisters. In moments, they morphed from guests to prey, eyes fierce. Thomas yanked open the floor, hatched to his root cellar. Hide. Silent. He erased traces extra mugs hidden, scents masked with scorched beans. Hooves thundered up. 6 troopers burst in, led by Captain Riley, a stern Irish vet Thomas knew from supply runs. Mornin', Harlan. Coffee. Riley's eyes darted, suspicious. Nasty patrol weather. Thomas poured steadily, pulse thundering. Seen any signs? 3 Crow squaws bolted the reservation armed and sly. Below, breaths held. Above, tension coiled like a spring. Riley eyed the tidy space, pausing at Mary's photo. Widower, tough break. Makes a man value order. His implication dripped. Aiding savages meant treason. Thomas met his gaze. Haven't seen a soul. Storms kept me in. Riley probed. These types, they bewitch good men, twist loyalties. Sweat beaded on Thomas's brow. One slip, and all lost. I've fought for this land since Gettysburg, Thomas barked. Don't preach duty. Riley flushed, but backed off. Just watch yourself. They rode out, but the air crackled with peril. An hour later, Thomas freed them. Gratitude shone in their eyes, shifting the dynamic. He'd chosen rebellion for strangers, awakening dormant fire. That night, barriers shattered. You risked all, Lena whispered, settling close. Her hand on his arm ignited sparks. What? Right's right. Mira approached, her fingers lingering on his. You're lonely. We see. Kira nodded. Very alone. Thomas glanced at Mary's image, but Lena turned him gently. She's past. We're now. The dam broke. 9 years ache poured out. He slipped off the ring, placing it by the photo, not forsaken, but released. What unfolded was revelation. Lena's commanding passion guided his surrender. Myra's tenderness healed scars. Kira's joy turned intimacy to triumph. In fire glow, bodies entwined, laughter mingled with moans, washing away grief. Thomas wept, reborn in their embrace, heart vast enough for old love and new. Dawn broke clear, storm fled. The sisters dressed for flight. Canada, Lena said. Kin there. Mira left a woven necklace beside the Ringlove's bridge. Behold, Kira urged. Thomas watched them vanish over the horizon, then stoked his fire, soul alight. 7 months on, a parcel from the north, a scrawled note of weddings, births a son named Thomas. He tucked it with Mary's keepsakes, smiling. Transformation complete from ashes to life. What do you think? Should Thomas have stayed loyal to his vow, or was opening his heart the right choice? Share your stance in the comments below. Did the cultural clash or the forbidden romance rile you up? Let's debate.